Welcome to another First Chapter Friday. Today I'm going to read from Terry Pratchett's fantasy book, The Color of Magic. It's the first in his Discworld series. And actually, instead of reading a chapter, of which there are only 4 in the entire book, I'm going to read the prologue. And you'll get the idea of what the book is about. In a distant and second-hand set of dimensions, in an astral plane that was never meant to fly, the curling star mists waver and part. See, great Atuin, the turtle comes, swimming slowly through the interstellar gulf, hydrogen frost on his ponderous limbs, his huge and ancient shell pocked with meteor crates. You heard that right. Giant turtle out in space. Okay. Through sea-sized eyes that are crusted with rheum and asteroid dust, he stares fixedly at the destination. In a brain bigger than a city, because he's a giant space turtle, so big brain, with geological slowness, because he's a turtle, he thinks only of the weight. Most of the weight is, of course, accounted for by Beryllia, Tubal, Great Typhon, and Jerakeen, the 4 giant elephants upon whose broad and star-tanned shoulders the disk of the world rests, garlanded by the long waterfall at its vast circumference and domed by the baby blue vault of heaven. So yes, giant turtle with 4 elephants on its back and a disk sitting on top of the elephants. That's the world. Discworld. Makes sense. Astropsychology has been, as yet, unable to establish what they think about. The great turtle was a mere hypothesis until the day the small and secretive kingdom of Krull, under whose rimmost mountains project over the rimfall, built a gantry and pulley arrangement at the tip of the most precipitous crag, and lowered several observers over the edge in a quartz-windowed brass vessel to peer through the mist veils. The early astrozoologists, hauled back from their long dangle by enormous teams of slaves, were able to bring back much information about the shape and nature of Atuin and the elephants. But this did not resolve the fundamental questions about the nature and purpose of the universe. For example, what was Atuin's actual sex? This vital question, said the astrozoologist with mounting authority, would not be answered until a larger and more powerful gantry was constructed for a deep space vessel. In the meantime, they could only speculate about the revealed cosmos. There was, for example, the theory that Atuin had come from nowhere and would continue at a uniform crawl, or steady gait, into nowhere for all time. This theory was popular among academics. An alternative, favored by those of a religious persuasion, was that Atuin was crawling from the birthplace to the time of mating, as were all the stars in the sky, which were, obviously, also carried by giant turtles. When they arrived, they would briefly and passionately mate for the first and only time, and from that fiery union, new turtles would be born to carry a new pattern of worlds. This was known as the Big Bang hypothesis. You heard it here, folks. Big Bang. Thus it was that a young cosmocolonian of the Steady Gate faction, now cosmocolonian, colonian is a type of reptile, specifically turtles, and cosmocolonian, space turtles. Okay. Of the Steady Gate faction, testing a new telescope with which he hoped to make measurements of the precise albedo of the great Atuin's right eye. I think that's light refracting off of a surface. Was on this eventful evening the first outsider to see the smoke rise hubward from the burning of the oldest city in the world. Later that night, he became so engrossed in his studies he completely forgot about it. Nevertheless, he was the first. There were others. So, The Color of Magic, check it out. It's available in our digital collection. Go to the link on my library homepage and sign in with your Google account and enjoy.